Welcome to BitAsk. Investing in crypto is not easy job. We will make your job easy. Please join me to ask questions to the industry leaders and market experts to learn from their insight. Early this year, Filecoin, one of the most iconic projects for decentralized storage, announced plans for virtual machines, FVM, compatible with Ethereum virtual machines. This means that in addition to pure storage, Filecoin will have computing power and smart contract programming capabilities that will enable it to move forward in DeFi, cross-chain, retrieval, and real data storage. Filecoin is well known in cryptocurrency industry for its storage memory mining, but it claims to be changing the rules of storage. If storage and computing are core infrastructure in the internet era, decentralized storage is the core infrastructure of Web3. Although it doesn't seem to have any implications right now, and it is still far from general public. Some experts are still betting that it will eventually replace current mainstream enterprise cloud storage. This new generation of storage technology, is it as powerful as it sounds? What about the market outlook? Today, we have the chance to talk to Mr. Tony Tong, the chairman of Hong Kong Blockchain Association. So please join me. Let's start a BitAsk. All right, thanks, Tony. Thanks for coming to the BitAsk program. It's a great honor to have you here. We know we are now in a digital world. Every day, everyone are creating data and needs to be stored somewhere. The demand of data storage rises exponentially. In the same time, the cost for data storage is rising as well. In blockchain world, we find the cost of storage in some major decentralized storage projects is significantly lower than current mainstream enterprise cloud service. Filecoin, for example, costs about like 0.01% of Amazon Cloud to maintain 1 gigabyte of storage per month. So what are the core competitiveness, advantage, and the market prospects of decentralized storage compared to the enterprise cloud? Tony, please.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. I've been following IPFS and Filecoin even before they launched it. The mainnet launched in around October of 2020. And I've been working with some of the equipment providers and miners in Shenzhen and Hong Kong. And even in the space launch, that was the beta trial before the official launch. So a lot of my partners and the members, some of the key members of Hong Kong Blockchain Association actually are the equipment providers and the miners. It depends on how you calculate the cost of IPFS and Filecoin. If you just calculate the equipment cost, the network cost, that's not very much. But a lot of the miners, they have to also calculate the cost of staking. So if you calculate the cost of buying the Filecoin, actually it becomes very expensive, a lot more expensive than the traditional centralized storage, such as you mentioned, AWS or Ali Cloud, Huawei Cloud, and Azure or Google Cloud. So as of now, actually, there's still not major application storage on the IPFS. Primarily, one of the reasons is actually the cost. The cost you have to store, you have to buy the Filecoin, and right now it's not too expensive. It's around $23. Previously, it went up as high as $150. It went down to $15 a while, just a month or so ago. And so the storage cost, it really varies on the cost of the Filecoin. And for the storage providers, actually they earn very good income by mining. And so I know some of the biggest Filecoin infrastructure providers, and they actually earn very stable income from this. But as of I know, most of the Filecoin, most of the IPFS is still for mining and the industrial use for data storage. Even though like Netflix and many other companies have signed, I think, MOUs, make announcements to adopt IPFS. So as the scale of IPFS grows, it as you can imagine, just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, it started with a relatively smaller crowd, but actually IPFS started with a much bigger mining sector support compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and this time it's the Chinese miners and equipment providers. Actually, they really invested a lot of money in equipment and the data center. So, but the scale still has to grow. As the scale grows, then I think the cost will be more comparable and even become lower than the traditional centralized storage. So
Thank
as
you,
of now, the main advantage is still not the cost for IPFS storage. The main advantage is actually is decentralization, trustless, and the reliability.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, following the first question, you're talking about mining and it provides liquidity, and also the miner has some rewards. I think it's just kind of an incentive scheme to get more, I would say, participator into this infrastructure providing all the liquidity stuff. But we can see like different projects like Filecoin, like Weave, ICP, or maybe like Curse, some different projects. And it sounds like they have the different like mining incentives. So I think it's a lot of technical barrier for the outside investor to understand. So can you just help to elaborate in a simple language? What do mining incentive schemes means to investor, or we say how investor could look into this and make some investment judgment?
But the goal of Filecoin and IPFS is to store all the internet data. That's going to require more and more people to join in. And as of now, most of the data is stored in centralized storage. And as we are talking about for the last year or so, NFT, GameFi, that's a very hot topic in metaverse. That's going to actually launch a surge of new demands in decentralized or distributed storage. And for example, in OpenSea platform, when you store your artwork on the OpenSea platform, you're creating a digital signature using the ERC 721 protocol, and you're putting the fingerprint of the artwork on the chain, on the Ethereum chain. The data itself is not on Ethereum chain. Many people mistakenly thought that once they mint an NFT, their data, their artwork, whether it's video, audio, or song or music, they assume that it's safely stored on the blockchain. But in reality, that's not. As of now, most of the marketplace, including OpenSea, they do not store the data itself on the blockchain. The data itself, most of them are still stored, for example, on the OpenSea server. It's the hash data, the fingerprint of that piece of artwork, that's put on the Ethereum. Ethereum is not built to store large graphics or even videos. So I see the increasing demand is actually coming from this burgeoning NFT and metaverse industry. And when people demand more, because right now they store on the proof of identity is on the blockchain through the ERC-721 blockchain algorithm or hash algorithm, but the data is stored in they call it URI, Universal Resource Identifier, which points to a physical storage. And most of that is on the server, on a just like a HTTP server. But as we know, IPFS is designed to eventually replace or disrupt the HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So the new browsers have built-in support, like Firefox. Many of the new browsers have built-in IPFS support. So you can actually browse the document without using HTTP. As we all know, the World Wide Web started in 1991 with the advent of Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, and HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. But HTTP is based on a centralized technology. It points to a IP address of a server. So you fetch data from a physical server. So IPFS is designed to be distributed, decentralized, and the data itself automatically has redundancy and backup. So as long as you have, you pay for the storage fee, just like Ethereum, when you use a smart contract, there's a gas cost, there's a gas fee. In IPFS, when you use the IPFS interplanetary file system to store something, and you are also required to spend the money, which is in FIL, Filecoin token. So you have to pay to store. So I see the right now is still in its infancy. IPFS and all the distributed storage, their industry use is still in its infancy. Nothing compared to the giants that's already spent decades to grow into the centralized database, centralized data centers. And but just like if you invested in ETH back in 2015 or 16, you probably would profit from it. I have faith. I believe IPFS and Filecoin, that's the leader in among many other in this distributed storage. There's a few others that I also have some minor investment, but IPFS and Filecoin, that's actually, I think, the majority, more than 90% of the distributed storage market share. So I'm confident. Right now, I personally think that at $20-some per FIL, I personally think that is a good entry point compared to Bitcoin that's already over 40,000 and Ethereum that's over 3,000.
Thanks, Tony. You have a strong, I think, it's a face on the Filecoin in terms of many of the decentralized storage projects, and I agree with you. It's kind of shining and leading projects in this sector. And follow you saying the decentralized storage is still at its infant stage, but like Filecoin just recently released a roadmap for the virtual machine. And according to this plan, it can achieve a series of big milestones such as cross-chain, distributed computing, permanent storage. So how do you see its further development?
Yeah, when IPFS was first written by Juan Bennett, he's a graduate student from the Stanford University, and it was simply for distributed storage. It didn't have smart contract built in. It didn't have a virtual machine. So the new newly announced Filecoin virtual machine would enable the IPFS infrastructure to execute programming language, so make it programmable, sort of like what led to Ethereum. But as I said earlier, Ethereum is not designed to store a large amount of data, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin, the block size is very small, I think only 2 megabyte. Ethereum block size is also very small, so it does not allow. Both these chains actually would allow you to store data, but only a small amount of data. As we all know, the Bitcoin blockchain, when it launched on January 3rd in 2009, even the Genesis block has data, the text, which is about the times report about the financial crisis. So it's just a sentence. So actually, that some people in the Bitcoin community wanted to make the Bitcoin blockchain to have large blocks to make it so that it can store even movies. One of them is Bitcoin Cash, BCH, and then there's another one called Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, BSV. BSV right now, they have increased their block size to over 1 gigabyte. So they're trying to move into that area so that you can store, big data, pictures, and even movies on the BSV blockchain. But Ethereum doesn't have that right now. So Ethereum, most of that data storage is still on a centralized data, just like, as I mentioned earlier, OpenSea. It primarily runs on Ethereum, but the data is still storage off the chain on an OpenSea server. IPFS is designed to store large amount of data and decentralized and encrypted, just like how Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're encrypted with public key, private key. So it is as safe as Ethereum and Bitcoin, but it allows you to store a large amount of data. But initially, IPFS did not have much programming language. So now with the Filecoin virtual machine, so it makes it possible, I think, in the future, you can actually program it and to do a lot smarter things. So just like I think this would also make IPFS and Filecoin to be more successful in the future, to have smarter programmability.
Thank you, Tony. I think it's just like you said, it's a quite promising way for decentralized storage to grow. But generally speaking, the decentralized storage is still a new concept to many people, as well as we say Web3. Of course, the infrastructure in the way to improve and upgrade themselves continually. So in your opinion, what are the key challenges or major breakthroughs needs to be achieved in order to optimize the decentralized storage facilities for the Web3?
I think I mentioned the cost of storage. Right now, I know IPFS and Filecoin team, they are trying to come up with new incentives to make it so that the content creators can much cheaper. I think even for free, they're offering free storage to the content creator. So if you're using Filecoin IPFS to store useful content, they have some new program to promote that. But previously, as I mentioned, IPFS and it's used only for miners, and they're not storing useful content. They're just mining data, which is just useless data. So I think beginning this year, we're going to see more and more industrial players moving their data from traditional centralized storage into IPFS-based distributed storage. So it's still very early. If you look at the coins, there will be ups and downs. But I think I've looked at the storage. The entire storage, I think, when you look at the latest storage, I think is around 20 EB, and that's already 16 EB exabyte. That's grown up a lot. So if it keeps going up when it reaches 1 terabyte, one zettabyte, that will be very big. I think if IPFS can store up to 1 zettabyte, then the cost will be comparable, and then there will be more and more people to use it. Because I think the real users are still very cost sensitive, and if the AWS and others are offering cheaper than IPFS. IPFS itself is not expensive, but the cost of the Filecoin itself, because it uses Filecoin to pay for storage, and that cost is still pretty high right now.
Okay, thank you.